On the night of 20 November 2022, South Africa woke up to the shocking news of a brutal and brazen murder that shook the foundations of its entertainment industry. DJ Sumbody, whose real name was Oupa John Sefoka, was a beloved radio presenter, DJ, entrepreneur and hitmaker behind popular tracks like Ayepyep and Bulai. His violent death, riddled with unanswered questions and deep-rooted suspicions, cast a stark light on the dangerous ties between the country's glitzy nightlife and its shadowy underworld. The murder wasn't just another statistic. It exposed a web of connections between high-profile entertainment figures and ruthless gangsters operating with frightening impunity. Court orders and business tensions surfaced shortly after his murder, linking his nightclub empire, Ayepyep Lifestyle Lounge, to suspected gang members, raising disturbing questions about safety, loyalty, and greed. In this episode of Crime Central SA, we delve deep into the life, rise, and tragic demise of DJ Sumbody, exploring how ambition and success in South Africa's entertainment scene can lead to deadly entanglements. Before we dive into this gripping narrative, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast. Visit www.swisherpost.co.za for all the latest updates and stay tuned for the highly anticipated launch of Season 2 of our sister podcast, Unsolved Murders SA. Your support helps us keep these stories alive, shedding light on the darkness that still grips our nation. Please take note. The views, information, or opinions expressed in this series are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Swisher Post, its parent company, Our Wish Word Publications, and its partners. Some of the content featured in this series describe details of extreme violence. Therefore, viewers' discretion is strongly advised. South Africa's nightclub scene, particularly in major cities like Johannesburg and Cape Town, presents a dazzling facade, one filled with pulsating music, dazzling lights, luxurious settings, and an enticing promise of escapism. It's within these glittering venues that everyday stresses seemingly melt away, replaced by a carefree and jubilant atmosphere. DJ Sumbody, the prominent entertainer whose real name was Oupa John Sefoka, personified this glamorous lifestyle. Through his hits and upscale nightlife ventures, notably the Ayepyep Lifestyle Lounge, he not only entertained but also symbolized the pinnacle of success and opulence within the South African entertainment landscape. Yet, beneath the seductive veneer of luxury and entertainment lies an intricate and sinister reality deeply embedded in organized crime and violence. Nightclubs, meant as sanctuaries of relaxation and enjoyment, are often tightly controlled by powerful, shadowy figures of the underworld. Research by organizations like the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, or GTOC, provides chilling details of how deeply rooted extortion schemes operate, highlighting a troubling trend where nightclub owners are forced through fear and violence into protection rackets controlled by ruthless gangs and crime syndicates. Extortion within South Africa's nightlife industry is typically enforced through systematic intimidation. Club owners are approached by gangs demanding regular payments under the guise of providing quote-unquote security services. Refusal or resistance is often met with violent repercussions, venues being vandalized, customers being intimidated, or worse, direct physical attacks. A report by GTOC highlights the methods used by these criminal networks, detailing cases where armed perpetrators frequently terrorize club owners and patrons alike, exerting relentless pressure to pay exorbitant protection fees. Ayepyep Lifestyle Lounge, co-owned by DJ Sumbody, vividly illustrates this menacing phenomenon. Investigative reporting by the Daily Maverick has exposed how Ayepyep was targeted shortly after its opening in Cape Town. Approximately 10 gangsters stormed the venue, violently disrupting customers and creating an atmosphere of terror, sending a clear and intimidating messages to the owners. Behind this brazen display of aggression was a web of rivalries and conflicts involving prominent underworld figures such as Rolf Stanfield of the notorious 28 gang and controversial businessmen like Nafiz Modak and the late Mark Liffman, both of whom have become infamous in Cape Town's violent nightclub security wars. These figures do not merely operate from the fringes. Their control is intricately woven into the operational fabric of nightclub businesses. They dictate which security companies are hired, control the flow of cash through establishments, and even manipulate internal business structures. Allegations surfaced that due to intimidation and threats, DJ Sumbody and his business partner were forced to surrender shares of their club to relatives of a prominent gang figure. Such forced takeovers represent a stark reality of business operations within this perilous environment. The involvement of these underworld networks stretches back decades, with notable figures like Cyril Bika, who once dominated Cape Town's nightclub security scene, enforcing his control with ties to gangs such as the Hot Livings and alleged connections to state intelligence agencies. After Bika's assassination in 2011, figures like Modak and Liffman emerged to vie for control of lucrative security contracts, their rivalry punctuated by violent clashes, public shootings, and intimidation tactics. Patrons often remain oblivious to the dangers lurking beneath their feet, inadvertently funding these criminal enterprises through their attendance and spending. Thus, the nightclub industry, with its seductive lights and promise of escapism, masks a disturbing truth. Venues intended for entertainment can rapidly devolve into scenes of orchestrated violence and terror. DJ Sumbody's life and tragic death symbolize this perilous intersection of glamour and danger, success and exploitation, vividly painted the disturbing picture of how deeply entrenched the South African underworld is within the nation's nightlife. Oupa John Sefoka, who would later become a household name as DJ Sumbody, was born and raised in Pretoria, South Africa, a city buzzing with dreams yet overshadowed by economic hardship and limited opportunities, especially for those growing up in its underprivileged areas. From his earliest days, Oupa knew intimately the struggles of township life, an environment meticulously structured to trap its residents within cycles of poverty. His initial journey into adulthood was far removed from the glamorous life that would later define him. Oupa found himself working in the gritting, bustly taxi ranks of Pretoria, first as a queue marshal and then driving taxis owned by his father. The taxi industry was unforgiving, marked by early mornings, late nights, and the constant noise and chaos of urban hustle. Yet, even amidst this chaos, young Oupa held tightly onto a different dream, a dream nurtured by a deep love for music. With relentless determination, Oupa used whatever money he could save from his job to purchase vinyl records from Exquisite Joint, a record store run by the legendary South African DJ Glenn Lewis. Armed with these records, he seized every opportunity to play at birthday parties, pubs, weddings, and any local event that could bring him closer to his dream. Despite the modest venues and sparse crowds, these early gigs marked his first steps into a world he passionately wanted to conquer. Recognizing the need to differentiate himself in a fiercely competitive field, Oupa invested in his first PA system, a decision that marked a turning point. He quickly learned that owning his own sound system made him indispensable, providing a guaranteed spot at events whenever his equipment was hired. Oupa saw beyond the immediate advantage, recognizing this as a critical stepping stone towards greater recognition. His ambition pushed him further, leading him to negotiate directly with alcohol companies, supplying sound equipment for their events, thus expanding his visibility. As his local popularity grew, Oupa ventured into the airwaves of Tshwane University of Technology's radio station, Tut FM, first as a guest feature and then as the host of his own show. This platform amplified his voice across Pretoria, earning him loyal listeners and significantly boosting his reputation. Driven by an entrepreneurial spirit and an insatiable desire to uplift his community, Oupa organized the quote-unquote mental shutdown event starting in 2007. These massive parties attracted thousands of university students and became quickly iconic annual fixtures, cementing his reputation as a formidable events promoter and culture influencer. In 2012, his persistence culminated in the release of his debut album, Larger Than House, swiftly followed by Larger Than House Volume 2 in 2013. While music scenes across South Africa pulsed with various genres, DJ Sumbody carved out a unique space by bridging the energetic beats of Kwaito house and amapiano, proudly amplifying the vibrant sounds and slang of Pretoria. It was during these electrifying performances that his signature phrase, Ayepyep, echoed back from crowds, symbolizing the joyous defiance and celebratory spirit of his hometown. In 2014, faced with near impossible odds and last-minute sponsorship withdrawals, DJ Sumbody boldly hosted the first Sunnyside Block beach party on a shoestring budget, merging multiple venues into a single unforgettable experience. This resilience captured the essence of his journey, transforming setbacks into successes. The transformation from artist to business mogul came naturally when Oupa, alongside his business partner Kagiso Setsetse, seized the opportunity to buy Café Del Kuze, rebranding it as Ayepyep Lifestyle Lounge. The establishment became synonymous with luxury and aspiration, encapsulating Oupa's remarkable rise from township hardship to urban sophistication. Collaborations with industry giants like Casper Nyovest in 2018 propelled DJ Sumbody into the mainstream spotlight, with hits such as Monate Mbulaye and Remote Control resonating deeply with listeners across South Africa and beyond. By this point, Oupa had not only become a celebrated musician but also a cultural icon, proudly representing Pretoria, affectionately known as Pitori, on the national and global stage. Through his label, Some Sounds Productions, DJ Sumbody nurtured emerging talents, reflecting his unwavering commitment to elevating others from similar challenging backgrounds. He was a beacon of possibility, living proof that dreams could indeed flourish against the hardest of realities. However, Oupa's journey took a crucial pivot with the creation of Ayepyep Lifestyle Lounge. What initially represented his ultimate triumph and embodiment of success, an opulent venue symbolizing both luxury and authenticity, soon revealed itself as a fateful turning point, entangling him in the perilous undercurrents of South Africa's nightlife and setting the stage for events that would forever alter his life's trajectory. Ayepyep started as a vision between Oupa and his business partner Kagiso after successfully hosting numerous events like the annual Sunnyside Block Beach Party. Recognizing a gap in Pretoria's entertainment scene, the duo acquired Café Del Kuze, transforming it into Ayepyep Lifestyle Lounge, a glamorous venue that would become the pinnacle of Pretoria's nightlife and a beacon of aspiration for many. It wasn't merely a club. Ayepyep symbolized Oupa's journey and embodied his personal mantra of growth and community upliftment. The venue catered to patrons craving a sophisticated experience that blended upscale leisure with authentic African cultural expressions, offering dishes like mogodu and leme while celebrating music deeply rooted in Kwaito and amapiano traditions. The lounge quickly evolved into more than just a nightlife hotspot. It became a cultural landmark, showcasing Pretoria's unique music scene and providing a prestigious platform for established and upcoming artists alike. Its popularity soared, attracting high-profile collaborations and creating an influential hub that resonated far beyond its walls. Yet, the glittering success of Ayepyep concealed underlying vulnerabilities. As its fame grew, so did the attention from sinister forces, plunging Oupa into complexities and dangers he never anticipated, setting a tragic trajectory into motion. In the days leading up to his death, Oupa was in high spirits. He'd just attended a friend's wedding on Saturday, 19 November 2022, in what would unknowingly be the last joyful public appearance of his life. According to his younger brother, DJ Sumbody, DJ Sumbody arrived at the wedding unannounced, an unexpected but welcome presence. He was vibrant, playful, and insisted his brother record multiple takes of a video of him stepping out of his red Mustang. They laughed, danced, and selected the soundtrack to his arrival together, settling on All About the Benjamins. It was a moment that in retrospect felt like a grand exit. That same weekend, DJ Sumbody was preparing to host his second annual all-white Verve Clico picnic at the Menlyn Main Lawns in Pretoria. The event was expected to join droves of elite partygoers, a celebration of luxury music and status that had quickly become a staple in the local event calendar. It was meant to be a day of triumph. Instead, it turned out to be a day of tragedy. In the early hours of Sunday, 20 November 2022, DJ Sumbody and his bodyguard were ambushed in a hail of gunfire in Woodmead, Johannesburg. They were reportedly en route to a gig when unknown gunmen unleashed an execution-style assault on their vehicle. The windshield was riddled with bullets, the precision and brutality suggesting more than a random act of violence. He died at the scene, his bodyguard beside him. Another passenger, believed to be a second security officer, was critically injured and rushed to hospital. The nation woke up to the news in disbelief. The artist who had once told Pretoria's township youth that they could be larger than life had been taken out in a storm of bullets, his dreams and empire left suspended in blood-stained uncertainty. And while condolences poured in, one question lingered in the air like thick smoke after gunfire. Who wanted DJ Sumbody dead, and why? The air was still when officers arrived at the scene on Woodmead Drive in the early hours of Sunday, 20 November 2022, but the silence was deceptive. It clung to the wreckage of a blood-smeared VW Golf, its windshield shattered into spiderwebs, its body riddled with bullet holes that told the story of a storm far more violent than the night itself. Inside were the lifeless bodies of Oupa John Sefoka, known to millions as DJ Sumbody, and his bodyguard. A third occupant, critically injured, clung on to life, barely breathing amid the twisted metal and glass. At first glance, the police suspected a drive-by, but the nature of the attack, its ferocity, precision, and scale quickly cast doubt on that theory. Over 40 bullets had been sprayed into the vehicle in what was clearly a coordinated, targeted strike. This was not a robbery gone wrong. It was not some petty turf war. This was a message executed with chilling efficiency, the type of message long associated with South Africa's criminal underworld. For hours, traffic was redirected, the crime scene sealed off as forensic investigators combed through every inch of the blooded car and surrounding tar. Shell casings littered the ground. Surveillance footage from nearby intersections was requested, but the reality was already settling in. There would be no quick resolution. Days turned to weeks, then months, and despite promises of progress, police made no arrests. The case slowly faded from headlines, becoming yet another unresolved murder in a country haunted by unsolved high-profile hits. But the whispers never stopped. Behind the scenes, tension that had long simmered beneath the Ayepyep empire began to bubble to the surface. Somebody's death had not only left a family in mourning and a fan base reeling, it also left a multi-million rand business in disarray. And as vultures kept circling the remnants of the Ayepyep brand, one name kept resurfacing: Kagiso Setsetse. Kagiso was not just DJ Sumbody's business partner, he was the co-founder of Ayepyep Lifestyle Lounge, the man who stood beside Oupa as the dream took form. But after Sumbody's death, their once celebrated partnership curdled into bitter allegations. In leaked WhatsApp messages to Oupa's younger brother Koketso, Setsetse accused the late DJ of financial misconduct. He claimed Sumbody had siphoned millions from the business, misused sponsor funds, and caused irreparable damage to Ayepyep's operations. Then came the revelation that Setsetse had taken out a 10 million rand life insurance policy on DJ Sumbody. The policy, underwritten by Momentum, raised immediate concerns, particularly because Setsetse somehow came into possession of Oupa's death certificate, despite the document being officially issued to Koketso via the funeral parlor. No one could explain how or why Kagiso had acquired it, nor why he was allegedly pursuing the insurance payout. In the public eye, the optics were damning, but optics are not evidence, and despite mounting suspicion, Setsetse was never named as a suspect by law enforcement. Still, pressure mounted for answers. The family, frustrated by the police's lack of movement, sought the expertise of IRS Forensic Investigations, a renowned private investigative firm with a track record in exposing financial crimes and organized corruption. Their involvement marked a pivotal moment. The cold case was reopened and new avenues were explored. IRS's focus stretched beyond personal disputes. Their line of inquiry probed whether DJ Sumbody's murder was the result of deeper underworld entanglements tied to nightclub extortion networks. It's no secret that many of South Africa's premium nightlife venues are pressured, if not outright controlled, by criminal syndicates. Ayepyep, both in Pretoria and Cape Town, had its share of run-ins with alleged underworld figures. One such figure was Ralph Stanfield, a man with alleged ties to the notorious 28s gang in the Western Cape. Ayepyep Cape Town, which opened in 2021, quickly drew the attention of dangerous characters. Reports surfaced that Stanfield and his wife had muscled their way into operations, at times even attempting to take over control of the venue entirely. This is the world DJ Sumbody had entered, a world where nightlife success came at a cost, where power and visibility made you a target, where death could be arranged over dinner and executed with military precision. When the SAPs first cordoned off the crime scene in the early hours of 20 November 2022, DJ Somebody's bullet-riddled vehicle told a story of clinical execution, yet for months, the investigation seemed stuck in status. Rumors swirled, suspects were whispered about in hushed tones, but official progress was scant. Many believed the case was destined to become another cold file buried beneath the weight of South Africa's staggering violent crime statistics. But the story did not end there. Behind the scenes, Gauteng's organized crime detectives, working with the SAP's political killings task team, painstakingly assembled a mosaic of evidence, and in July 2025, almost 3 years after Oupa Sefoka's life was cut short, a breakthrough shook the silence. On 22 July 2025, SAPS announced the arrest of 4 men in connection with DJ Somebody's murder. The suspects, aged between 45 and 60, were not petty criminals. These are alleged hitmen. One, investigators believe, is the man who ordered the hit. In their possession, police seized a weapon that would prove decisive, an AK-47 rifle. Ballistics tied this weapon not only to the Bramley attack that killed DJ Sumbody and his bodyguard, but to a string of other assassinations stretching across Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. Suddenly, Somebody's death was no longer an isolated tragedy. It was a node in a network of killings, a bloody thread weaving together multiple cases of organized crime hits, attempted murders, and nightclub-linked executions. The arrests were hailed as a triumph. National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola praised the painstaking detective work, emphasizing that this was a case where, open quote, the teams needed to take their time in ensuring a thorough investigation so that we would ultimately bring a strong case before the court, close quote. Yet, as celebrations echoed, darker revelations cast a shadow over the so-called breakthrough. Explosive affidavits surfaced alleging that associates of KwaZulu-Natal's Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi had kidnapped a senior SAPS ballistics expert, Captain Itumeleng Mkhutlu, in January 2025. According to his sworn statement, rogue Special Task Force operatives whisked him away during what should have been his leave, interrogating him for hours about DJ Somebody's murder docket and another case in Vereeniging. Their goal? To force access to sensitive forensic reports that linked the same seized AK-47 to multiple high-profile killings. For 8 harrowing hours, Mkhutlu was held hostage, marched into the Silverton Forensic Laboratory and forced to open secure case files under threat. Open quote. Working on these kinds of cases, I will die for shit, close quote, one armed man reportedly warned him. The ordeal ended only when SAP's reinforcements stormed the lab at 2 in the morning. The implications are staggering. If true, the kidnapping was not the work of fringe rogues, but of officers embedded within SAP's elite units, allegedly answering to senior commanders. It suggests that the very machine tasked with bringing justice to DJ Somebody's killers is itself infiltrated, compromised, and possibly weaponized to protect suspects with deep political and criminal ties. And the web does not stop there. The Bramley docket, DJ Somebody's case, has been linked through the same AK-47 to the assassination of DJ Vintos, the killing of businessman Don Tindleni, and even the attempted murder of television star Tebogo Tobejane, who survived an ambush in Sandton. Security moguls, private contractors, and underworld brokers now circle the investigation like vultures, some already in the dock on related charges. Names like Vusumzi Kat Matlala, Musa Kekana, and Diego Floyd Mabusela bleed into overlapping dockets, blurring the line between legitimate enterprise, private security, and organized crime. The arrest of the 4 suspects in July 2025 is therefore not the closing of a chapter, it's the opening of a far more dangerous one. Their eventual prosecution may bring clarity, or it may pull back the curtain on the extent of the rot. A South African entertainment industry entwined with hitmen, politicians, and rogue officers, where a DJ's rise to prominence can mark him not just as a star, but as a target. The question now is whether justice will finally prevail, or whether DJ Somebody's case, like so many before it, will collapse under the weight of intimidation, infiltration, and the enduring grip of the underworld. The underworld is not a side story, it's the infrastructure. For years, criminal syndicates have infiltrated South Africa's nightlife economy, manipulating everything from club security to artist bookings, from venue protection to extortion rackets that extract rent from success. According to research by the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, these criminal networks often act as both gatekeepers and executioners, deciding who flourishes and who falls. And in this realm, one misstep, one refusal, one disruption of the existing power dynamic can cost you your life. DJ Somebody's rise From township hustler to nightlife royalty was a threat. His brand, his autonomy, his refusal to fold to certain demands, these were acts of defiance in a space governed by silent rules and violent enforcers. The more powerful he became, the more dangerous his position, not because of what he did wrong, but because of what he refused to do. Capitulate. Nightclubs like Ayepyep exist in a strange limbo. To the public, they are symbols of black success and urban culture, but behind the velvet robes, many of these establishments are battlegrounds for invisible wars. Criminal syndicates use venues as fronts for money laundering, drug trafficking, weapons smuggling, and violent enforcement. In the Cape Town leg of Ayepyep's expansion, allegations emerged that known gang affiliates had attempted to hijack operations. Coercion, threats, and shadow deals. This is the language of the industry's dark underbelly, and still, the state lags behind. Despite police knowledge of these criminal structures, meaningful prosecutions remain few and far between. Whistleblowers vanish, investigations stall, cases go cold. In the vacuum left by ineffective policing and political reluctance, the underworld consolidates power and the cycle continues. Another dead artist, another family silenced, another business dismantled. We cannot afford to pretend this is normal. We cannot allow the language of glamour and entertainment to smother the truth that South Africa's creative economy is being held hostage. DJ Sumbody's murder was not just the loss of a beloved public figure. It was a seismic warning, a reminder that for every beat that drops in a nightclub, there may be a gun cocked in the shadows. Until the state commits to dismantling the criminal networks embedded in entertainment, and until the public demands accountability for those operating in darkness, the murders will continue. The clubs will stay open, the bottles will pop, and another DJ, another entrepreneur, another dreamer will fall victim to a system designed not to nurture their success, but to exploit it. In the end, DJ Sumbody's story is not just a tragedy, it's a mirror, and what we see staring back at us should force a reckoning. Oupa John Sefoka's story is not one we should ever forget. His life, filled with ambition, rhythm, and the burning desire to uplift those around him, ended not in the glare of stage lights or the echo of his music, but in the dark silence of gunfire on a city street. His legacy, etched in sound, in laughter, and dreams he made tangible, now carries the weight of unanswered questions and a justice system that has yet to deliver closure. In telling his story, we're not just revisiting a tragedy, we're holding space for a man who became more than a DJ. DJ Sumbody represented possibility, and when possibility is snuffed out by violence, when dreams are gunned down with impunity, we owe it to ourselves to ask, who benefits from the silence, and why are we so comfortable with forgetting? Your time, your willingness to listen, to remember, to ask the difficult questions, that is the first step in disrupting the silence, and for that we thank you. At Crime Central South Africa, we're more than storytellers, we're archivists of truth, memory, and resistance. Every listener who presses play joins us in the mission to keep these names alive, to reignite hope, and to demand accountability in a country where justice too often sleeps. If DJ Sumbody's story moved you, if it stirred anger, sorrow, or resolve, we invite you to stay on this journey with us. Subscribe to Crime Central South Africa on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get your audio fix. Share this episode with your circle, join the conversation. Visit www.swisherpost.co.za for ongoing coverage and developments, and be on the lookout for the relaunch of our sister podcast Unsolved Murders SA coming soon. This is how we honor the fallen. This is how we build community, and this is how we fight back. Thank you for listening.